All right. Good morning. Thank you for everyone. Thank you everyone for coming out. My name is Derek Thompson. I'm the principal here at HBB. I am entering my 12th year here as a principal of the school, and I love my job. And I always appreciate getting an opportunity to meet everybody coming into the building for the first time. I guess I'd just like to start today by saying that we take the job of educating your kids very seriously. Whenever I have anybody ask me how many kids I have, I tell them I have 600 because I have 3 kids of my own, but that's the way I treat this job, and I think the staff here do as well, that we take the responsibility of educating your kids and working with your kids. We spend a lot of time with them very seriously. And with that said, you know, as we move forward today, and just in general, if you ever have a question, just please reach out. One of the things that I say to parents often is just at least first give us the chance. Like, call us if you have a question. Facebook is not the first place to go to get a question answered. The one thing I promise, we are not going to be perfect. There will be times where you're not happy or you'll have questions about something, but the promise that I will make is that we're always going to listen. We're always going to work to try to get it right, because it really is about a partnership between parents and the school, and we work really hard to establish that, and our teachers do as well. And the one thing I'm absolutely confident in is that's what you're going to find this year with our first grade team. Our teachers are really good, they're really responsive, they're communicative, so please just reach out first. So I just wanted to start off today that way. So I'm going to walk you through some of the odds and ends of the school, things that I think you need to know about before school starts, but I'm probably not going to answer every question, so I'll be here when we're done, so you can come and find me, you can call me, you can email me, whatever works best for you. All right, I am having some bad technology mojo today. So I wanted to introduce a few important people that you're going to get to know. Some are in here. If you are, please wave. First is our assistant principal, Mr. Thomas, who's sitting right over here. I don't know why Mrs. Redlawn's name was deleted off there. That was obviously something I did by accident. So Mrs. Redlawn is our special ed coordinator for the entire elementary complex. So if your child is on an IEP, she's the person that you're going to talk to. And then our 2 main office secretaries, Julie Kavaleski and Shannon Precourt. You'll get to know them really well. And they're here today, so you can stop by and say hi at some point. Our first grade team, we have a few new additions to the first grade team, and some of them are here today. Mrs. Lemieux has been on the first grade team for a long time. She's right here up front. Wave to everybody. Mrs. Trottier is right here. Mrs. Trottier is the grade 1 teacher leader as well as one of our grade 1 teachers. Ms. Kane is new on our first grade team as a teacher. Last year she was in ESP, working to get certified. She did her practicum with us. And Ms. McLean, who is also new to the first grade team, but not new to us. She was in 5th grade with us last year. And she's always wanted to teach first grade, so we had the opportunity to slide her down to first grade. So I know she's excited about that. Other members of the team, Mrs. Adams, she is in the building somewhere, but I don't think in here right now. She's the special ed teacher for first grade. Mrs. Jankowski and Ms. Kimball, also first grade teachers. Other people that you will get to know. We have a couple instructional coaches in the building. Mrs. Weinock, who actually was a grade 1 teacher at one point. Mrs. Latender. They work very closely with the classroom teachers just on instruction practice, providing PE, things like that. Mrs. Madigan and Mrs. Tarnowski are both our reading specialists in the building, so they'll potentially work with your child at some point if there's we encounter any issues with reading. And then Ms. Callahan and Ms. Grant are both special ed teachers in our substantially separate special ed program called TLC. Mrs. Perkins is our nurse. Mrs. McDonald is our school psychologist. Mrs. Doak is our adjustment counselor. And then our most popular staff member is Prince. The kids all love Prince. They get to see him every day. He's all over the building. Prince actually works with Mrs. Doak, goes home with Mrs. Doak every day. Prince does not stay in the building. That's a question I get asked all the time. He lives with Mrs. Doak. Our special subject teachers, these are teachers that your kids are going to get to know really well over time. Mr. Dawson, Ms. McGovern are both our music teachers. Mrs. Donovan is our art teacher. Mrs. Crawford teaches technology and computers. Mr. Phoenix and Mr. Whitelaw are our two PE teachers. Your kids will know them really well. They'll have them all 5 years that they're with us. And they're great. They bring a lot of positive energy to the school. They do a lot of fun things. Which just give you an idea of some of the things and what the schedule looks like for kids. Your kids are pretty much with one teacher all day. They leave every day for 45 minutes for specials with those special subject teachers. So we have a 6-day rotation here, so the kids will participate in music 2 times. They'll participate in PE 2 times, art once, and computers once over that 6-day rotation. And every morning I announce what day it is. It's also on our school calendar. The kids figure it out pretty quick, and so they know where they're going. We also have a bunch of after-school clubs. We run 2 sessions of after-school clubs. In the fall and spring, we have a whole variety of options. So you'll see at some point, probably in October, late September, early October, a sign up for clubs for the first session. It's pretty much first, we try to do it as equitably as we can, but get that information back to us as soon as possible. We do everything from Legos to board games to basketball. We have all sorts of different clubs and options, and they're broken up by grade level, so you'll see that. We do have champions before school and after school care. If that's something that you're interested or you need more information about, just let me know after and I can go in the right direction for that. And then obviously your kids leave the classroom every day for recess and for lunch as well. Lunch is 30 minutes, recess is 25 minutes. And my computer really slows down, sorry. So I started off today talking about communication and the importance of communication and just asking that if you ever have any questions, to please just reach out to us first. But I did just want to let you know some of the avenues that we use to communicate with parents. The first is ClassTag, top left. That's a picture of my phone. There's an app that you can download called ClassTag. That's a really good way to stay in touch with everything that's going on in the district. And all of my newsletters, they'll come through that app if you sign up for it. So that's one way. I would suggest you download that app. Again, that's called ClassTag. You'll still get my emails every week. Every Friday, I send out a school-wide newsletter, and I use an app called S'more. Most of the teachers will be as well. That's this one up here. That's basically a program to create fancy newsletters, so it's pretty cool. But I send that newsletter out through ClassTag, so you should every Friday get an email from me. If you're not getting an email from me every Friday, the first thing I'd ask is for you to check your junk folder, because maybe it's getting filtered there. And then if not, please call us, because we probably have your email address in our system the wrong way. It might be like a letter or a number, or there's a capital where there's a capital. So please, you should get an email from me every week. That's something I ask you to check. That email also goes out on Facebook and Twitter. I don't post on Facebook and Twitter regularly. I do take a lot of pictures of the kids, and I put a lot of time and effort into communicating to you the different things that are going on. And I capture that all in our newsletter. It comes out once a week, and you can basically get that newsletter through your email, through ClassTag, through Facebook or Twitter. We do post on Facebook, Twitter, and we use ClassTag for things like buses are running late, emergency kind of things that we feel like you need to know. School cancellations get put on there in addition to the local television stations and things like that. And then teachers also have their mode of communication, and they all will communicate with you on a regular basis, things that are going on in the classroom and information that you need to know. Our teachers are really good about communicating, so those are some things you can expect as the year goes on. Some programming I wanted to talk to you a little bit about. We don't really have a list of rules and consequences, but we do have high expectations and we do hold kids accountable. We focus on the positive. So we have a list of positive expectations, which is captured in our Berkman's Best, which currently our expectations, we are going to be updating this year, but our positive expectations are to be safe, be respectful, be responsible, be caring, be healthy, and try your hardest. I announce it every day. And basically, we spend a lot of time rewarding kids when they are meeting these expectations. We have a variety of, we have character award of the month, we have positive office referrals, we have Husky Haven tickets that kids, when they are caught being Berkman's Best, they're given tickets, and they get to regularly go to the Husky Haven, which you can see here in the top left, and they can turn those tickets in for prizes. And then when kids are not meeting those expectations, that, you know, we do still hold kids accountable. Kids still get sent to the office. If your kid's sent to the office, you can expect a phone call home, probably from Mr. Thomas. 99% of the time it'll be Mr. Thomas. But we're not about like, you were bad and you're being punished for being bad. It's, I believe in you and you're capable of meeting these expectations, and you weren't, and you need to fix it. And sometimes that means removal from the community, and there are consequences attached to that. But we focus really hard on teaching the kids that we have positive expectations, that we believe that they can meet them, and we're pointing out to them when they're not meeting those expectations and what they need to do to fix it and what they need to do in the future. This is important to me because I think the more that we can be on the same page with the language that we're using with our kids, the better. The more that you understand the way that we're saying things to kids, the better, because lots of times kids come home and they have a lot of questions. And, you know, they meet with Mr. Thomas, he's a big scary guy, and they're, you know, they don't say much, but they might come home and ask you a bunch of questions the first time. So we just want you to understand what it is we're trying to accomplish. You'll hear us talking about this a lot. You'll hear me writing about this in the newsletter. So this is an important part of what we do here at HBB. I'm going to turn it over just for a minute. Mrs. Strider's going to talk a little bit about learning at HBB.
Good morning, everybody. On behalf of the first grade team, I just want to welcome you all here. I've seen a lot of familiar faces this morning, so welcome back, and a lot of you smiles, so welcome to the HBB. Good morning to all the children here, so happy to see you all. So learning at the HBB, I can say on behalf of the first grade team that we are so excited to get started this year with the learning that's going to take place. You heard Mr. Thomas talk about teamwork. Mr. Thomas talked about teamwork. And that is the really big idea for our team as we move forward. Our team works really closely together to ensure the success of your child. We are focused on the standards, but we're focused on the happiness of your child. We're focused on the success of each and every child. And we will be working closely together on curriculum, on progress monitoring, and especially on the purpose and intent of the planning each and every day that your child will have the opportunity to have, you know, small group differentiated instruction. It's really important to us because we take it very seriously about the success of your child. Communication, we are going to be doing team communication this year. We're really excited to do that. So we're going to see team newsletters coming home. Of course, individual communication will also take place. And I emphasize, just like Mr. Thompson did, about communicating with your child's teacher. We're all going to be getting to know your children. It is going to be a team approach, but I definitely encourage you with anything. If you just want to check in with your child's teacher to do so. We keep really close. We really monitor your child closely on their success, their happiness, and we look forward to working with you this year. So welcome, and I'm glad that you're all here. This is a great showing, and looking forward to a really wonderful year and the success of each and every one of your children.
Thank you. One of the things I failed to mention is, as it relates to learning at HBB, we do have academic expectations. We're working really hard to clarify also our expectations that are not necessarily academic. And we actually last year spent a lot of time creating a new section in our report card, which you're going to see as the year goes on. I'm going to be communicating that out with information about what that looks like for us. But we've spelled out what our expectations are socially, emotionally, and with our learner behaviors. So things like working hard, that's an expectation. we're not just trying to teach kids reading, we're also trying to teach them to see themselves as readers, right? And there's a lot of skills that go into that underlie that. We're trying to teach them how to be a good friend, how to notice things about other people. So you'll see that spelled out, and hopefully language that is pretty straightforward, because I think for the most part in my career, this is my 24th year in education, this is the part that parents actually care about most. Parents want to know, like, is my kid a good kid? Are they working hard? Are they being kind to other people? We're trying to do a better job communicating that, so there's going to be a lot of information coming out this year, and actually opportunities for feedback. We really would appreciate you telling us what you think, because at the end of the day, we want the report card to be meaningful, and for you to be able to look at it and have a good sense of how your child is doing in school. And we have some room for improvement in that area, so hopefully that new section of the report card will be helpful. I did just want to touch on homework a little bit. Just to be clear right off the bat, I'm not going to say a ton about it. The first grade team works hard to be consistent with what the homework expectations are, but this is not a compliance task and not something that's meant to create a bunch of stress at home. We are trying, with our policy and homework here at HBB, is over a 5-year period of time, we're trying to teach your kids to be progressively more and more responsible for themselves, to learn how to bring something home and actually bring it back. I mean, that's mostly what it looks like in first grade. There are things that need to be done. Homework is not something that should be bringing kids to tears at home. It should be a power struggle and a fight with parents at home. You probably aren't going to encounter that much this year. But as your time through HBB continues, you're going to see more and more of that. And kids get confused about it, parents get confused about it, but we're not. We're very clear what we're trying to accomplish, and I just want to state it right off the bat. Our real goal with homework is to teach personal responsibility. It's also to teach some important executive functioning skills. You'll see, like, in the upper grades, the teachers do a lot more where they're asking kids to think about what's going to need to be done 3 or 4 days down the road. Because when they go to middle school, they're going to have 7 different teachers and a lot to keep track of. So we're trying to slowly, progressively build the skills that we think kids are going to need to be successful when they get to middle school. All right, so some nuts and bolts. I'm going to go fast just because there's a lot of kids in here, and I'm boring to the kids right now. So drop-off happens every day at 8:40. It does not start sooner than that. Drop-off happens at the front of our building. Please do not drop your child off before 8:40. We're not supervising them. You will sometimes see kids out there before 8:40. That's because those kids are walkers, and it can be hard for parents to gauge exactly when to kick their kids out the front door and send them to school. That does not mean we want parents that are dropping their kids off and pulling out of line. So the doors will open at 8:40 every day. That's when we let them in. So drop-off happens out front of the building, but pickup occurs out back of the building, okay? So I'm going to try to go over some of the nuts and bolts, but you're really not going to understand it until you live it with us completely. I'll start with pickup in the afternoon. It happens out back. And actually what you're going to do is you're going to park over by our basketball courts, and you're going to walk up to these double doors here. Be prepared with an ID. Mrs. Johnson, Mrs. Enos are primarily the 2 staff that are going to be in here. The kids who are being picked up are going to be sitting in here. You're going to have to tell them who you're here to pick up and show an ID, and they'll let you go. So you get into the back of the building through Route 28, and I apologize, I was trying to use a different projector, and you can see what's working this morning. But this is the elementary complex right here. This is Route 28 by Hanford. So what you're going to do is you're going to pull in the back entrance. You'll see a big oval circle in our gymnasium. You're going to pull to the right, and you're going to park in this area and come up to the double doors, which are actually right here, and that's where you'll pick your child up. The gate out back does not open until 3 o'clock, and the police have notified us that, because we've had parents parking on Route 28 and along that entryway as early as 2 o'clock, they're going to be kicking people out and moving them. So the gate's not going to open until 3. So if you get there a little bit before 3, there'll be a little bit of lineup for both schools, and then you'll be able to pull in the rest of the way. The reason we do that is because there's gym classes happening out back. We can't have cars pulling in while kids are out back. Pickup happens at the front of the building where I'm assuming 95% of you all parked. And what will happen is there's a, let me go back to the slide here. There is a big half circle, actually, in the complex here. So parents are going to come down either Mayflower or Mitchell Street, and there will be a line, just to forewarn you. There's going to be a line of traffic. If everybody just follows the rules, the whole thing moves really quickly. It gets stalled when people start trying to cut out of the line. So if you have to come into the school, by all means, pull into the parking lot, park, and walk in the front door. But if you're dropping off, you're going to either come down Mitchell Street or down Mayflower Ave, and you're going to enter the parking lot along with the rest of the traffic. And basically, everyone gets in a long line, and I'm out there with a few additional staff members, and we're telling kids to come out. And we try to get as many kids out as we can, and then we move the traffic along. Do not drop your kid off and then pull out of the line and try to pull around, because some kids are getting out both sides of the car. And so we don't want cars, so one of us will jump in front of a car and stop it, just because we don't want any kids to get hit. We have a pretty good number of staff members out there helping supervise and direct traffic and just keeping things moving. But what I need you to know is, and this is really tough on the first day of school for some parents, it's not the time to get out of the car and do hugs and kisses and take pictures and put the backpacks on. We're trying to get everybody moving. You'll see it's a long line of traffic, and once we get moving, it usually takes us a week or two. It's 10 minutes. That's it. Sometimes parents think they're in a rush to work and they try to cut around the line, and it stalls the whole thing. So we just ask, if you're dropping off, to just stick with that line of traffic. Trust the doors open at 8:40, and we start getting that traffic moving as fast as we can. It usually does take us a week or two to get the whole system moving smoothly. So just be prepared for an extra 5 minutes, maybe 10 minutes on the first couple weeks of school. So that's a view of this back door, just so you can see it. Walk up the pavement. You're actually, if you're going to stick around, we are doing an event out back, so you can go out back and see what it looks like when we're done. I already mentioned this, the gate doesn't open until 3 o'clock, so don't show up at 2 and park on Route 28, because the kids are not going to be doing anything. So in the first couple of days, you should have received this in the mail, first grade parents. If you didn't, please check in the office before you leave. All the kids have color-coded lanyards, and then I'm just showing you here, like, we know what those colors mean. Every single staff member, plus a handful of volunteers, are out and about in the building looking for our first grade kids and their lanyards, and we help them get where they need to go. One of the biggest questions the most common questions we get is, how is my kid going to know where to go? I want to come in, drop off, parents want to come in the building with them. We've got it. We've been doing this a long time. We have a really good system here. We know how to get the kids off the bus and get them where they need to go. We know how to get the kids from the front of school into where they need to go. Just ask that you please have them wear the lanyard every day until we take it back. The classroom teachers, after a handful of days, we feel pretty confident they've figured it out. They'll take the lanyards back from the kids. So just have them wear it every morning. What you can expect is they'll probably wear it the first week, and then the first day or two of the second week. Because sometimes kids forget what they did once they have a weekend. So it's like they hit reset. This is also a really important form. It's a little bit choppy to figure out exactly where everybody's going. So we asked, sorry, this is projector's but there was a purple form, and on the bottom of the form, there's a Monday through Friday, how is your child getting home? We don't need you to tell us the bus number. We just need you to write bus, walker, pickup, YMCA, or champions. We just want to make sure we get it right. We have a very detailed process at the end of the day where we take attendance at every single location, and I do not let those buses roll until we know every kid is where they're supposed to be. And it can be a little choppy to figure that all out over the first week or two of school. So this form is super helpful to us. So if you haven't returned it, please do so. Definitely please send it in at least by the first day of school. With your child, it's okay to send it in with your kids. I did also want to say your child's bus number is assigned based on primary guardian's address on record with the district. Your child's bus number is listed under your child's Aspen account And if you see a discrepancy, please call us, because sometimes people move and they may not have told us, or we might have something incorrect, so just let us know if there's any issues there. We are going to put your child on the bus that we have listed in our system, so that's important. If your child is absent for any reason, we ask you to call this number, the Safe to School number. You'll see it in every one of my newsletters every week. It's always there. It's also on our website. You can't find it. And we just ask if you call as soon as you can, because there is an automated call that will go out at about 9:15. And if you don't want to get that call, then just make sure you let us know. And when you're dismissing your child, this is super important to understand. Every day that your child has a change in dismissal routine, we need to know. It's really difficult when people call the office at 2:45, 2:45, 10 minutes to 3, and say, I'm picking up today, or my child needs to go home with this kid. We have a lot of kids in this complex. And the entire complex is over 1,300 students and 25 buses out front. We have a lot of work to do to make sure everyone gets to where they need to get to. So as soon as you know there's a change in your child's dismissal routine, we ask you to please let us know, and the best way is by sending in a note with your child. Obviously, things happen. We understand, like, you get stuck at work, and there's an emergency or something. We totally work with that, but there's a lot of families that have that every day, so if we can eliminate the families that we know already knew in advance that you're going to have change in routine, that would be super helpful. On the first day of school, you're going to get a really large packet. Well, not that much, but there's a bunch of documents in there that we need you to look it over. And something that's different this year is at the back of that, there's a signature page that we ask you to take a look at all that stuff, sign it, and return it to us. There's information about our handbook in there. If you, for some reason, don't want your child's picture included in anything, or you don't want them in any of our school videos, there's a form for that. So just something to be on the lookout. That will be coming home on the first day of school. This will also be coming home, and you can't see it really well, but there's a form that will have all of what we have for your information in Aspen. So we just ask you to please take a look at it and make sure that everything in there is correct. If it's not, just correct it on the form and send it back, and we will update it in our system. This is really important. One of the things that we see happen most often is an email address is slightly off, and then sometimes parents change their cell phone. They might change providers and get a different phone, and they don't realize that we don't have your current phone number. So that form is really important. If you can look that over, that would be helpful, and send it back to us. Any change in address, we require a proof of residency, so just be heads up on that. So these are a couple other forms you're going to get in the mail. It's just helpful information. You can hang them on your refrigerator. But I just want to point them out, like phone numbers, important places to contact, important dates, when to expect report cards, those kind of things will be on these forms, so you will be getting those. I also need to say, every year we have a number of students that have life-threatening allergies in different classes. If your child's in a class with a student that has a life-threatening allergy, we are going to communicate that with you. That doesn't mean anything in regards to lunch. They can have whatever they want for lunch. What it does mean, though, is SNAP. The SNAP that you send into school, we ask parents in that class for it to be an allergy-aware SNAP. And we will be descriptive of what to be on the lookout for. We don't punish kids. If they come in, we can work with families. But what it might mean in some instances, if we have a student that has a peanut allergy, and that student insists on peanut butter crackers every day, and that's all they're going to eat, they're probably going to eat the peanut butter crackers somewhere else. It's not going to be a punishment, but you can't let them eat it anymore. So just something to be aware of. We have a really vibrant family resource center. We have a ton of supports for families. Just, again, want to make note of this, and I don't expect you to remember it, but the Family Resource Center for the district is really here for families with any questions. There's so many resources. It could be a family in crisis, a family that wants to volunteer. You got questions, you want to know, is there somewhere to sign my kid up? My kid's interested in karate. Is there somewhere to take karate lessons? That's what they're here for. They'll answer any and all questions. They're really great. They mostly work with families that need support in different ways, and really in any way. And this is one of the things I'm proudest of in this district. I think this district really does have a commitment to support families beyond academics. Again, recognizing that we aren't all one big community, so just keep it in the back of your mind in case you ever need support. Know that we have it. I expect you to remember it, but you can always just call us and ask any questions. Couple quick reminders for first grade parents: please make sure you label all your child's belongings. Honestly, I could open up a store and retire early if I were allowed to sell all the stuff that gets lost in the school, that we have no idea whose it is, and we end up donating after a couple of years. And I'm talking about nice North Face jackets and all sorts of stuff. Kids drop their stuff, they leave it, they walk away. If it wasn't near the class that we're in, they have no idea whose it is. We try displaying it at every parent event so people can rummage through it, but you know, the easiest way to make sure your kids' things don't get lost is to just label it. If their name is on their jacket, we'll get it to them. We're not going to punish them. So please, label belongings. Pack a water bottle. Really make sure the kids are dressed for the weather. We don't power struggle with kids. If they don't have a jacket, we're going outside if it's a cold day. If they don't have a jacket, we're still going outside. And I know how it is. I have 3 kids. I have a son who insists he doesn't need a jacket. And then complains to me 15 minutes later that he's freezing cold. And then I said, that's a natural consequence, but I told you to put a jacket on. So please make sure your kids are dressed for the weather. Send a note each day for a dismissal change. This isn't particularly relevant for first grade, but it's become more and more of an issue in the upper grades. Cell phones and smartwatches are not allowed, and we will take them from kids. If they bring them to school, they're allowed to put it somewhere. I recognize sometimes kids need a phone because they need to call their parents when they get home and those kinds of things. We're not going to just take it because we see it, but if we see it come out in the classroom, we are going to take it. So we would ask kids generally to keep it in their bag, keep it in the locker. And lunch is free this year, again, if you didn't know. So lastly, is Jen involved in here? I want to talk just briefly about our PTA. In volunteering, we have a number of parents that volunteer that don't join the PTA. We do welcome volunteers. I think the more that we're working together, the better. But we are really blessed with amazing PTA. Actually, we had a meeting last night. We're working on adding a nice big piece of playground equipment that the PTA is going to be funding. And we've been doing some repairs to the playground out there, which I'm super excited about. Our PTA funds so much. That Husky Haven that I showed you, Husky Haven tickets, field trips, enrichment. Every year we buy every kid a Berkman's Best shirt. We do a big goofy video. If you haven't watched it, please watch it. It's on our website called the HBB Lift Up. I'd show it here, but it's a little bit embarrassing because it's kind of goofy, so just watch it another time. But we have a lot of fun here. Our PTA supports all of that work. And I'm going to turn the mic over to Jen in just 1 second. But I also wanted to say that in addition to our normal fundraisers, I really want to make sure people understand our fundraisers, all the money goes back to the kids. So we're not just trying to raise money for the heck of it or for fun. It's for projects for the kids, like the playground. This year we are going to be starting off a separate fundraising campaign to try to add more equipment to our playground. There's a really old section of our playground that I'm hoping we're going to be able to take down and replace in time. So just be on the lookout for that. So, also.
I'm not speaking, so I'm going to keep this short and sweet. I'm Jen Hook, Vice President of our PTA. We also have Rachel Alshore, Shari Carney, and Kelly Rose Clive. They cannot be here today, but they will be at our first meeting. I have these papers to pass out after. We're outside. If you're not staying outside, I have a pile back here for you. Slip to sign up for PTA member. At the bottom it has a date. It is a long date that wasn't updated. Our first
right, so again, we do have a lot of big events. Mrs. Newland just talked about our big blast. So right before Halloween, we transformed this entire school into some spooky hallways and a bunch of fun and games. The kids come in their costumes. It's one of the coolest events of the year. The kids get really excited about it. That's the kind of stuff the PTA helps us put on. And being part of the PTA doesn't mean that you have to come to every single meeting or be involved in everything. But maybe you can help with one event or help with one station at a time. Anything you can do is really appreciated. So, with that said, I know I went really fast, and you may have questions. I'm just going to stay. You can ask questions. I'm also going to go outside. So we have a social outside for the kids. We have popsicles. You guys can all go out. My suggested route, especially for first grade parents, is to head out that way and take a left down that hallway. All our first grade classrooms. So we ask you, please don't move around in the rooms, but you can take a peek in the room if your kid wants to see the room. You are more than welcome if you'd like to take a look around the rest of the building. I have no problem with that. Go down and see our cafeteria or our library. By all means, go ahead. But if you're interested in participating in having a popsicle, down this hallway, the gym will be straight ahead. You'll left, you'll go out the doors at the end of that hallway and we'll back over towards where our playground is. So I appreciate everybody's time today. Just come ask me any questions or anything I didn't answer. So thank you very much.